We'll be quiet.
Okay, it is 1 o'clock. Can everybody hear okay? If not, shoot us a message. And Dilhan, did you want to go first with a couple of? I'm thinking, okay. Now I've completely blanked. Thank you. The CREDC newsletter, as you know, goes out weekly. So we are maybe going to scale that back. I don't know how that's going to go, but I'm thinking we'll target the first of the month. That way it's a more robust newsletter, and I think it'll be more, you guys will find it more helpful, and it won't come in weekly, and I think it feels like we're people. Yeah, I feel like I'm sending a lot of the same information every week, so I think scaling it back, we'll see how that goes, and glad to hear feedback on that as we move towards that. Another thing too, thank you for sending in your slides and filled out templates for your research projects for the quarterly report. I've got about 19, so you know who you are. If you have not submitted it, please do so as soon as possible.
And may I add, if I could make this request, please. This is a new team. Trisha and Linda are both new to actually doing the quarterly report. So any assistance that you guys can extend in terms of being timely submitters is greatly appreciated.
Yes, I will say that as well. So without any other announcements, I think we'll get started. Did you want to, Dustin, are you on? Do you want to make the introduction?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I wanted to introduce Kamrul. So he's a PhD student in the modeling and simulation department, and he did his master's in computer and information systems engineering. And his PhD dissertation is in this topic of developing algorithms on how software-defined network can provide cyber resilience to energy delivery system. As a matter of fact, this particular work is in collaboration with Accenture Technology Lab, and it has its origins in the first CREDC industry workshop when we interacted with the folks from Accenture Technology Lab, and his dissertation topic has evolved since the discussion. And he's going to present his research work, which was published at IEEE CNS, and he also completed an internship at Accenture looking at viability of evaluating his work at ICS testbed that Accenture has. So over to you, Kamrul.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shetty, to introduce me. I hope you all are hearing me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I am Kamrul Hassan. I am from Old Dominion University. Today I am going to present my work modeling cost of countermeasures in software-defined radio enabled energy delivery system. So before going to details, I want to describe. I want to share some important things like about SDN and EDS. Nowadays, SDN deems proliferation of smart device and connected to internet. And up to now, most of the communication networks is traditional IP networks, and it's unable to provide runtime network orchestration, system resilience, and security countermeasures, and maintain network quality of service during runtime. But the emerging SDN paradigm can perfectly address these challenges by splitting the control networks from the data forwarding networks. That is the global view of the SDN is important and playing an important role here. So still now.
Excuse me, before you continue, can you go back to your first slide?
Yep.
I just want to point out that there are volumes of best practice that while these systems use internet protocols, they should not be connected to the public internet.
Yeah, it's true. A few part of the network is not connected to internet. Yes, it depends on.
I understand that you have imperfect air gaps, but that is like the basic recommendation from NERDFERC, and you have to understand all pathways to your critical cyber assets, and you have to construct a security case why it cannot be exploited. So having it out now people do studies where they do searches and they do find these devices on the internet, but it's just very much against best practice. Okay.
Okay. So still now researchers proposed different methodologies how SDN can maintain system resiliency, mitigate system threat, and to maintain network quality of service during runtime. But the thing is that nobody actually shows how it could be maintained the quality of service when a countermeasure is selecting during runtime. Mostly in energy delivery system. Actually, in this work, actually, I am telling about the SCADA communication system. So in this work, I will show how it is possible to model incorporating both network quality of service when selecting a countermeasures and in optimization framework. So before going to our system model, I want to share some important tasks that SDN can do. The first thing is the SDN can do during runtime, like orchestration. If you look into the left side picture, you can see that this is the traditional IP networks for SCADA communication networks, and in this SCADA communication networks, the SCADA master is controlling the two substation, and most of the network, most of the security devices are in the boundaries of the network. In that case, if any attacker bypass any firewall or any devices, it's very hard to detect or mitigate those types of compromisations, because there is no global view, or there is no central management or central action places. So if you look into the right side figure, the same thing, just with the power of SDN, as it split the control center from the forwarding device, it can easily monitor every traffic in the networks, and in any places, any compromisations has been taken place, or any malicious activities has been taken place, the ideas of the system can easily taken care of that and send information to the controller and to mitigate or apply countermeasure selection to keep the system still workable. So I am here talking about the known threat or known attack. So if you look into the second important runtime features of SDN is configuration. So that means it can make runtime different configuration to keep the system stable. Like if you look into the left side figure, like figure A. So although the RTA is compromised and RTA is sending some control commands to a directed, say, relay 1, but still due to the SDN, the attacker cannot do some malicious activities to relay 2 because due to the global view, SDN can easily bypass relay 2 from the switch and still keep the system stable. On the other hand, due to the DOS attack, say some spoofing, if the attacker is spoof some packet and compromise the system and convince different relays and RTUs to sensors to reply there to send the packet to a particular RTUs. so that the RTU capacity will be depleted. In that case, the central SDN control center can identify the particular RTU, and it can drop the packet so that still the grid can be run well. So the third important thing that SDN can do, that is the quality of service runtime. It can maintain the quality of service in the SCADA communication networks. So if you look into the picture, there is one application that is statistic or QoS collector. Normally, it can periodically it can collect the data from the network, and it can calculate the different QoS parameters like bandwidth, delay, and jitter, or any other desired parameters according to the links, port, or some services. Then it can runtime take decisions what types of quality of service the different service needs, and it can ensure by configuring or bypassing or adopting new routing in the system. So up to now, I just described three important features of SDN, but all of the discrete work they actually did not mention. For any attack, if any attacker actually compromise the system or compromise or maliciously do some activities in the SCADA communication network, the countermeasure can be selected runtime, but they did not consider the quality of service. Whether a countermeasure selection can deteriorate to quality of service of the network. So, for that reason, our systems model, I actually like that. So when an attacker do some malicious activities like spoofing, eavesdropping, and data modification and replay attack, those four attacks are the known attack and common in the SCADA communication networks. So in that case, the IDS can identify, as it is known attack, IDS can identify that some malicious activities is going on in SCADA communication network. As in our system model, service-oriented software-defined security is continuously monitoring the alarm of IDS, and here the service-oriented software-defined security actually convert the security functions into security services, so that it can incorporate all types of countermeasure selections, applications to apply on the SDN characteristics, and after that, after getting the alarm, the service-oriented software-defined security get the countermeasure selections from the playbook. But the thing is that sometimes the playbook can give us the countermeasures with some default parameters. Maybe sometimes this default parameters is not perfect for that SCADA communication networks. In that case, the SDN controller can help us, help the system, like it communicate with the. Actually, this is the new edition of our work. We actually adopt a software-based optimization module on top of QoS collector, which actually ensure the optimizations between security level and quality of service of the network. So, when SCADA controller, SDN controller communicate with the optimization module first see whether the next communication in the SCADA communication network, the service type, whether it is type 1 service or type 2 service, like whether it is operation critical service or non-operation critical service. Because operation critical service, we know that those types of control commands or something like that. Those types of the service needs strictly time bounded. That means has to be at the regional site on time. And on the other hand, non-operation critical service are like collecting the meter data and other stuffs. So those are not time bounded, but sometimes it's need good throughput for the huge data from the meter. And after determine the service type by optimization of the module, then it check with the QS what actually the quality of service status of the network. If the network quality of service is okay to send the message, it does not change anything. But sometimes due to attack, maybe quality of service of the network can be changed, and in that case, optimization module take the decision. So what will be the countermeasure selections different parameters value, and it optimize among those values and get the optimized value with desired level of security. So in that case, the attack that we are mentioning, spoofing, eavesdropping, data modification, replay attack, all of this chunk of attack actually clearly connected with the cryptographic communication. So now, why we need the modeling of this cost of security countermeasures? We know that the security and quality of service are two opposite parameters. That means proper modeling will provide at which security level what will be the quality of service for a particular countermeasure selection. And I already mentioned the chunk of attack that I am mentioning. It's strictly related to the cryptographic modifications. So in that case study, we actually took two parameters, that is the message authentication code length and key length, and I'll describe details on the next slide about that. So about the risk analysis, now I have to find it out about the objective of optimizations scheme and the boundary constraints, and also how can I solve those parameters according to the boundary. So we know that the security risk is always for security for communication. For any data communication, the security is always determined by a level of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. On top of that, there is another parameter is very important. That is authenticity. That means in SCADA communication networks, to send a message from one device to another device, two devices must be authenticated first to mitigate all of those four attacks that I mentioned. So in here, the data confidentiality is actually always represent the key length. Normally, if the key length is higher, that confidentiality ensured more, and data integrity is measured by the checksum. Here is actually checksum is the message authentication on the code. On the other hand, the availability, that means how fast a message sent from the masters, that means SCADA master unit to SCADA slave to the regional, will be delivered. It depends on the boundary conditions. So after that, we have I have actually framed the authentication level. So in that case, in SCADA communication network, we know that for a pair of devices in SCADA communication network, they always share two types of key. One is session key, another is periodic key. Actually, we did not consider here the periodic key. Normally, periodic key is changes maybe once a month, And session key is normally generated before sending a message to keep the to protect the message and to protect the message and to make the plain text into ciphertext. Actually, that's why authentication level is depends on proportionate to the session key. Here, RSK is the session key frequency. That means that means normally according to the standard IEEE standard, the RSK should be 0.67 to 1 per minute. So next the.
Hang on just a second, we have a question.
Hi, just to point out again in these systems that generally they don't worry too much about confidentiality and they're willing to waive confidentiality. Integrity is important and availability is important. So yeah, they really don't care that you know what the voltage on a bus is.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a nominal value and it better be close to that and it's probably published somewhere. So confidentiality is not a big deal. That may change with sensitivity of configurations, but what is often said about energy systems is that the CIA pyramid is inverted and it's AIC. That's what they worry about in that order.
I understand. Actually, in my total security level, there is some weight, and this weight can be given from security analyst who actually know the system very well, and he can give the weight which level should be a hot percentage. So in that case, you can make the confidentiality maybe 0, maybe 10%, maybe or 15%, depends on your expertise or depends on the context.
It at all, so.
So the confidentiality level is proportional to the key length, and the integrity level is proportional to the MAC, message authentication code. We all know about that. After getting all of this level, authentication level, confidentiality level, and integrity level, if we aggregate all of this level with some weight, W1, W2, and W3, this W1, W2, W3 actually set one time from the security analyst who actually better know which types of communication message need which weight for this W1, W2, W3. Actually, some services messages maybe needs availability, some need maybe integrity. Depends on the message type. They can set for that. So still now we actually showed that how the security level can be framed by mathematical representation. Now we know that we cannot increase the key length or message authentication code for any cryptographic method because there are some cost for that. Cost for that because to maybe if the key length is say 1024 bit or MAC is 1024 byte, it actually increases the security level of the message, but it at the same time it also increases the processing of the power. So which actually hinder in delaying to deliver the message on time. So we have to also incorporate that in the quality of service. So to bring that, actually, if I consider a SCADA communication network where I assume that there is no enough traffic, only the traffic for that SCADA communication network. Although I actually assume that the communication network is wide area network, but I assume that there is no queuing delay, there is no processing delay, data processing delay. Only there is data transmit delay, and on top of that, as I already mentioned, I can change the key length and key frequency and the MAC size. It actually increases some delay on top of that delay. So for a particular packet, the end-to-end delay it will be like transmission delay, authentication delay, integrity delay, and confidentiality delay. And we also know that throughput is decreases proportionally to the MAC, and I will show later on in equation of the throughput that the throughput it will be decreases with the increase of the MAC. But if we increase the MAC, it will actually increase the security level. After if I put the all constant of those authentication delay, integrity delay, and confidentiality delay, I will get that the total equations. There is 4 part: transmission delay, authentication delay, integrity delay, and confidentiality delay. And transmission delay is depends on the number of forwarding device between SCADA masters to SCADA slave, and also the length of the distance from one place to another place, and also the rate of the port of forwarding device. And also authentication delay is proportionate to the RSK, that means session key frequency, and integrity delay is proportionate to message authentication code, and confidentiality is proportionate to key length. And the throughput is the efficiency multiply net bit rate. Here efficiency is if we think that the packet will be 1500 bytes, in that case, on top of that 1500 bytes, there will be some headers and other protocol related messages, which is 34 bytes as per the standard, and on top of that we have to include the MAC. And if you from this equation, you can see that if you increase the MAC, ultimately the security level will increase, but it actually decrease the throughput for a particular constant R. Now I actually framed the security level, and also the to increase the security level, what will be the impact in the quality of service of the network, SCADA communication network. And now I got all of the objective functions and all the boundaries, and now I have to frame a optimization model, and I have to choose the better optimization model to optimize among those security level and quality of service. So as per my discussed now, the objectives are three. We got 3 objectives. The first one is maximize the security risk. Definitely, we always on the security level should be maximum, and at the same time, the minimize the end-to-end delay. So minimize the end-to-end delay means the packet should be reached from SCADA masters to the regional slave on time, and at the same time we should have to maximize the throughput. And although not all service, all messages need the high throughput, but we have to ensure the maximum throughput value. So in that case, the boundary is end-to-end delay for type 1 service messages should be 100 millisecond. I got that 100 millisecond from IEEE standard for SCADA communication. Here actually D is equal to T minus TC, and T is the it's a planning parameter for maximum allowable TCP delay, which is 1 second on 1000 millisecond, and TC is the typical time which is required to queuing, loading the message to the channel, and what is called routing, and it's 90% of the time, and so we only left 10%, that means 100 milliseconds. So to reach the message to the right regional place, definitely it should be there by 100 milliseconds. And the variable is X, and here X is the message authentication code and the key length, and we actually try to keep the MAC and key length within that range, starting from minimum 16 in the bits, and the maximum is 2048 bits. So we already framed the equation and boundaries for optimizations for optimization module of SDN, SCADA communication network. In that case, we can use different optimization method, but particularly we use multi-object. As we have multiple objectives, so we use multi-objectives genetic algorithm, the non-dominated sorting genetic algorithm type 2. Actually, why we use that? There are some particular reasons for that. If you think about the classical technique like the multi-objective linear programming, random search, simulated annealing, actually for multi-objective cases, those types of classical method actually aggregate all of the objectives with some weight, and for that weight actually needs some expertise, and sometimes if you did some mismatch, maybe it will not give you good correct output, and also this classical technique always give you the one output, but for a system administrator, it always desires to give a Pareto front. That means if a set of output that will give actually same result for a particular context, so that the system administrator can choose any solutions among those results. So from this perspective, genetic algorithm is very prominent. It actually always give not a single output. It's actually give a range of output, and among different types of genetic algorithm, we actually use NSGA version 2 because NSGA version 2 is the time complexity of NSGA version 2 is less, and this is also important for SCADA communication network because this is a complex network. So to calculate and get the result in a shortest period of time is very important. So that's why we use the NSGA2. So if we look into the right side picture of NSGA2, this is the procedure of NSGA2. Is in short, I can tell that we have to give the possible populations solutions from the very beginning, and after that, getting the solution, the model actually did the selection, crossover, and mutation. Those types of three important processes well known in the genetic algorithm. After that, it will create the child solutions QT, so in total at that stage the total of the solution is PT plus the QT. Then the model started how to sort non-dominated sorting among them, and they make a different set like F1, F2, F3. So if we said that our solution is said I need the solution say 20, in that case the algorithm actually check whether F1 set, the solution in the F1 set is more than 20 or not. If it is less than 20, then it takes all the solutions of F1, then F2, and then F3. If F3 has more solution than leftover solution, then according to the non-dominated sorting, few solution has been rejected, and then starting the next loop. And actually, the algorithm stops when, in my cases, I usually give the maximum generation 150, and when the generation reaches the 150 and converts to my desired result, the algorithm stops. So this is the initial simulation settings, and I did that on the simulations in the MATLAB, and I actually use the multi-objective optimization genetic module and write the code. And initial population size 50, maximum generation on 50, string length, all of the standard, but I have to customize that according to my SCADA communication context, and also the other factor that I already mentioned, like session key, according to the standard, is started from 0.67 and maximum is 1 frequency per minute, and key length bit is started from 16 to 2048 bit, but I did my simulations from 128 to 512, and also MAC and other some parameters is here. So when the SCADA communication on the master actually gives that there is one message is going to deliver, which is operation critical message, like type on message. Those messages like substation automation control and monitoring, configuration and setting updating, and alarm for process. In that case, according to the expert, the weight could be, I took here the weight is W1 for authentication is 0.3, integrity is 0.6, and confidentiality is 0.1. And the end-to-end delay equation is like that if I plug in those parameters here. And the constraint is for operation critical service, we already know that is end-to-end delay should be 100 less than or equal to 100 millisecond. So if I run the solver, I got those 18 points who actually ensured the security level and the end-to-end delay according to the constraints. So all of these 18 parameters is very important to system administrator, or because all of those parameters actually attain the same value in Pareto form, but depends on the different message types or requirements of different messages. Maybe automatically it can be chooses which parameter is best for particular message. So if you look into the rightmost point at the 96.8 millisecond, the security level is high, 1.75. So I actually wrote at that point, which is also less than or equal to 100 millisecond, the MAC message authentication code is 32 bits, and key length is 128 bits. Actually, for every points, 18 points, actually it has different types of MAC size and different key length. So another type of service is always type message is always in the SCADA communication, that is non-operation critical. Actually, those types of service actually need some specified throughput, but not like any strict constraint in terms of availability, means timing. So those types of services like exchanging historical data for mid-term and long-term planning, collecting data for asset management, collecting data for automation system engineering. In that case, the security level equation, the weight would be, I keep it just equal share, and the end-to-end delay is like that. And in that case, the throughput is I keep the throughput boundary is greater than or equal to 95%. So if you look into the solution, still we got 17 points in the Pareto form, and as there is no time bounds, so we saw that after some time like 300 and 350 milliseconds, the security level is the highest, that means 4. And here, according to the previous, similar to the previous solution, this all 18 points is also important. The security administrator can check, can set any points, that means MAC value or key length value, depends on the message type and context. So actually, in this simulation for non-operation critical services, we got actually 1 point is little bit deviate from the Pareto front, and so I can that's why there are some standard measure of the performance evaluation of optimization module. In that case, not for the operation critical service result, but the non-operation critical service result I got on point out of the Pareto front. So in that case, according to the standard theory, I can assure that 95% of the security setting solution are close to the Pareto front. So this is actually the good. So now actually this is the model, the module that I am describing now, which is the optimization module. Actually, this optimization module I mentioned earlier, it works collaborating with SDN, working connecting with the SDN control center, and also the total SCADA communication networks. So now time to the conclude. So in this work, actually, we actually showed how it is possible to trade off between security risks and quality of service to select security parameters for any particular countermeasure selection using SDN. This is a simulation work, and from the result output from optimization module, it shows that 95% of our solutions are in the Pareto front for one output. In future, actually, I am trying to in this work we actually did not consider the network congestions, queuing delay, processing delay, and also there is a delay actually in between the SDN controller and the forwarding device. That means in that protocol, in that leg. So also we have to consider the SCADA master server processing power is always high than some regional sensor or something like that. We also consider those types of constraints and those types of things in our work. So that we can extend our work in the future. So this is my related publications that related to that, 2 publications in on IEEE computer network security, CNS, another is IEEE CCTA. So thank you very much for your patience to be with me, and if you have any questions, please ask me. I'll try my best to answer those questions.
Okay, we'll open up the floor to any questions. If you want to, just remember to unmute yourself to ask a question. No feedback, comments, questions from the group?
Yep. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think we have any other announcements. Thank you very much, Kim Rule, for your presentation today. And again, we have a presentation next week as well, so please join in. I believe we have Dennis Gerken scheduled for a presentation next week. So we will talk to everyone then. Don't forget to send in your slides for the quarterly report and the templates as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to send an email to Al or myself.
Yep.
Did you have a question? Nope. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you very much.